I'm Doug Stanhope, and that's why I drink.
Your hatred of American culture culminated with you spilling billions of barrels of oil into the Gulf of Mexico. And I understand, yes, you don't like America and we don't have a worldview and we think everything revolves around us. But it was a shitty thing to do. The entire summer was BP oil.
81 days in, with BP still using dispersants, the first glimmer of the price that will be paid.
Another day of the BP oil spill. Round-the-clock coverage of oil leaking. We have cameras on the oil spill, and now let's look at a close-up of the camera of the BP oil spill. Everybody's angry about the oil spill.
Man, you got to get down here and take control of this, put somebody in charge of this thing and get this thing moving. We're about to die down here.
They have coverage of boycotts, people protesting BP gas stations. Well, you're irresponsible. You fucking drove to that boycott with a car. Unless you're boycotting petroleum, you're doing nothing. I have a list of things that I'm concerned with, and the oil spill is not going to make the list. There's a lot of other problems in the world. Maybe someone, Kevin Costner, is concerned about the oil spill. He built a machine. The news picked up on this stupid story and ran with it.
Meanwhile, the cleanup effort along the Gulf Coast, that is getting some star power. It is called the Kevin Costner Solution.
Every day was just unending coverage.
Those with a science background will find our machines easy to understand. They are designed to separate oil and water.
Don't they do that by themselves? I'm going to build a machine that makes cats hate dogs. Dawn dish soap exploited this to a level that I found obscene. Dawn dish soap, just some dish liquid, had a commercial where they came out showing ducks or waterfowl of some kind coated in crude oil.
Not today, they're gonna wash away.
And if you see the commercial, you see a duck covered in oil. Unless you're a complete sociopath, you're probably pro-duck. You're rooting for the duck. But you think the commercial, it's an environmental concern. SaveADuck.com. Throw us $1. No, it's for Dawn dish soap. We get your silverware sparkly clean, and then we save a duck in our off hours. How obscene, how vulgar is that to exploit a tragedy of this level just to promote some dollar store dish soap? Is that not exactly the same as using a rape victim to promote a feminine hygiene wash?
They're gonna wash away, that's all. I'm gonna take them away.
On screens in April, a dramatic paper towel commercial starring a singular turd.
One sheet!
Yes, this kitchen Zorro is supposed to be sexually attractive, even though his name sounds like a bowel movement.
This is why they call me One Sheet.
I suppose it's an unfortunate pronunciation, but he probably couldn't give two sheets about that.
One sheet does plenty.
Spring was also a time for new beginnings. Doctor Who returned, played by Lance Percival, played in turn by Matt Smith, together with his 200-foot-tall redhead assistant, Amy Pond. And as Britain said hello to one big-faced BBC icon, it said sayonara to another as thumb in a suit, Adrian Charles hopped away from the One Show, abandoning his role as curator of Europe's and finally Mountain. Having sneaked what he thought might be one last look at his co-presenter's tits,
Beautiful.
he skedaddled to ITV, where he and Christine turned up several months later in a cheerful morning pick-me-up.
When Daybreak came along, right, some people didn't like it because they're afraid of change and progress and being bored and stuff. But I thought it was really clever, like a TV experiment. Like someone at ITV had gone, what would happen if we took the One Show and hid it somewhere where no one could see it, like first thing in the morning? But the set was a bit depressing though, because there were these big windows where it was often really dark, like the son had just died of leukemia, and so it all felt a bit like you were stuck at an airport at 4 in the morning with some people who just wouldn't shut up and were just talking and smiling and talking and going on and pointing at stuff and laughing and smiling and talking and laughing until you just think, I hate this world. I hate it. I hate this world. And that probably isn't the sort of tone they were going for.
There was a trend this year for absurdly physical game shows which disguised their lack of questions with shenanigans. ITV did their bit with the whole 19 yards, fewer than half a dozen precious questions stretched across an obstacle course in which Vernon Kay insisted was a general knowledge quiz.
Welcome to a brand new general knowledge quiz.
Yes, well, it certainly borrows from all the classics of the form. It's exactly like the famous blindfold tumbling round from Mastermind. There they've copied the University Challenge Lego Wall of Death. And I'm pretty sure Blockbusters used to end with Bob Holness wanking himself backwards up a flight of stairs. You've got to feel sorry for the contestants, really. By the time they'd made it across that obstacle course, they were well and truly buggered.
Later in the year, the BBC would try something similar with their very own Guantanamo Strike It Lucky on an Oil Rig, 101 Ways to Leave a Game Show.
You'd have thought after the Late Late Breakfast show, the BBC would be wary of introducing gravity into a Saturday night show, but no.
The gimmick here was that answering incorrectly led to you plummeting a long way.
Monica Seles.
I haven't seen that many bodies dropping from a scaffold since the grand finale of the Nuremberg trials.
May heralded the general election. Everybody went voting mad.
This was to be a three-way fight, not that you'd guessed that from the preliminary coverage, which focused on Dave v Gordon.
Nick Clegg seemed so unimportant, Sky News apparently sent a child to interview him.
Are you nervous about tonight's TV debate?
I'm a little bit, yeah.
The first debate was staged by ITV on a set resembling a cheap 90s game show and was moderated by the understated Alistair Stewart, who'd carefully considered his presentational style in advance, as he revealed during a thoughtful interview on Sky News.
The best analogy that I've come up with so far is a kind of conductor of an orchestra. And some of the greatest conductors you see very little of. They're almost self-effacing.
Yeah, he certainly pulled that off. Don't know about you, but I hardly noticed he was there.
Mr. Brown. David Cameron.
Nick Clegg. Nick Clegg.
Nick Clegg.
During the debate, the three contestants did their best to appear human. The incumbent, Gruffalo Brown, creaked out a few smiles, and tried the odd gag.
Now be honest with the public, because you can't airbrush your policies, even although you can airbrush your posters.
Yeah, off-the-cuff gagsmanship comes about as easily to Gordon Brown as breakdancing does to a chair.
Humanoid David Cameron regaled us with anecdotes about some plebs he'd stood near.
I was in Plymouth recently, and a 40-year-old black man actually made the point to me. He said, I came here when I was 6. I've served in the Royal Navy for 30 years. I'm incredibly proud of my country.
Right, so this 40-year-old black guy must have been 10 when he joined the Navy. Where was he stationed? The good ship Lollipop?
But it was mysterious stranger Nick Clegg who impressed most by referring to members of the audience by name, like a teacher taking morning register.
Whether it's on the questions of from Alan on care, Jacqueline on crime, Helen on politics, Joel on schooling, Robert on the deficit, I believe we can answer all of those questions.
Afterwards, rather than relying on our own silly minds to work out what we thought about the debates, the news had gathered representative viewers and given them handheld widgets that let them register their approval or otherwise on a second-by-second basis.
Watch as David Cameron says immigration is too high.
These last 10 years, and it does need to come down. I think the pressures that we've put on housing and health and education have been too great.
All of which effectively turned the whole debate into a sort of reaction-surfing video game.
This obsession with the opinion worm marks the point at which the news media finally gave up pretending modern politics is about anything other than how you come across in the immediate moment.
And to sledgehammer that point home, on the BBC's flagship political fart kitchen this week, Louis Spence turned up to talk about how the debates had gone.
I've never voted in my life, but the one who gives the best performance is Clegg.
You can't pay for that sort of expertise. Except it's on the BBC, so you did.
Someone who was displaying the polar opposite of showbiz zhuzh was Gordon Brown, a man apparently allergic to luck and for whom smiling looked as painful as lifting a heavy weight.
Throughout the campaign, Brown was repeatedly shown shuffling around, engaging in awkward small talk with the public, often with a microphone on.
Yeah.
Well, it's terribly unfair on us to just listen into conversations.
Well, that attitude didn't last long.
Yes, because during a meet and greet, Brown encountered Gillian Duffy, a lifelong Labour voter who wanted to talk about immigration. Anyway, having dealt with her relatively smoothly, Brown got in the car.
And then made the politically suicidal mistake of speaking his mind while the public could hear.
Just a sort of bigoted woman.
This was as close as the news gets to pulling off a Noel's house party gotcha. And it was delighted, breaking the news to a startled Duffy with great comic timing.
What did he say? Well, you might not like this, but he said, what a disaster. Who got me to talk to that woman? She's a bigot, or words to that effect. And we want to know your response to that.
You're joking.
Meanwhile, Calamity Brown was on the Jeremy Vine show having the recording played back to him, and he reacted by trying to crawl into his own hand to die.
Come the big night itself, the news crews moved into the biggest, most bombastic spaces available.
It was a good night for silly graphics, such as ITV's comedy Xbox Live avatars shown here depicting the leaders.
But no amount of whizzy visuals could disguise the fact that no concrete result was coming at all. It was as though democracy itself was hopelessly constipated.
On Sky News, Alistair Campbell knocked heads with political correspondent Adam Bolton. Campbell claimed the coverage of walking gaff magnet Brown had been slightly negative in tone.
Get off your high horse for 2 seconds.
You started this.
I'm
You're
entitled.
the one of accusing the television media of being biased against you.
Adam, you're great at giving it, you can't take it.
Oh, fight, fight, fight.
Maybe we could have a more sustained dialogue about it, Adam, in the future.
Yes, maybe you will.
With no clear winner, the news was stuck in an existential limbo, with presenters and reporters left up for days in the political equivalent of a 4-day narcotic bender. While Labour and the Tories both tried to woo Clegg behind closed doors, outside everything seemed to be going slightly mad. Sky News experienced 2 on-air meltdowns.
First, Alistair Campbell did his bit to sex up their coverage by winding up Adam Bolton during round 2 of their ongoing grudge match.
Adam, you're obviously upset that David Cameron's not
I'm not upset.
You are. You probably are.
Don't keep casting aspersions on what I think.
Calm down.
I am commenting. Don't keep saying what I think.
This is live on television.
No, don't keep telling me what I think. This is what you do. You come on and you say, no one won the election.
Fight, 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 fight.
Talk to me. I'm fed up with you telling me what I think.
I don't care what you're fed up with. I don't care what you're fed up with.
Then Kay Burley interviewed a proportional representation protester in feisty and some might say unshut-upable fashion.
We're protesting for something, and what we're protesting for is a change to politics, for fair votes.
That's what they're negotiating at the moment, so why do you need to protest?
That's what we really hope.
They're already doing it. You might as well go home and watch it on Sky News.
Of course, the problem with talking all over protesters is that a bit later the protesters might decide to talk all over you, with embarrassing results.
People are worried about, which is trade-offs, negotiations behind closed doors.
How do you get together and try and organise some sort of polling as far as this is concerned?
Finally, after forever, the deal was done. Brown left Downing Street, magically transforming himself into a human as he went, and Clegg and Cameron cosied up and went all Brokeback Mountain in the Rose Garden.
It's good, right, having a coalition government, because instead of being run by a load of MPs who all agree with each other, it's like Britain's being run by a sort of supergroup of 2 totally different musical acts, like if Boney M and Razorlight got together, challenging. It's a bit odd now they're together for like the good of humankind and that. It's like when 2 lonely people who've never found love decide they might as well get together as a couple and force themselves to have sex. But like the coalition's a laugh, right? They put this little boy in charge of the money. He's called George, and he's like 14. He's mental, right? He's wheeled out this spending review thing, which is like a list of all the things we can't afford anymore, like, schools made of gold, or scroungers, or basic human dignity. The politics used to be boring and stable, but the coalition kept you guessing. Like Clegg said, he'd scrap tuition fees, but completely. And now he's raising them. So you don't know what he's going to do next, which is brilliant. Because he might nuke Cardiff. Or I don't know, stick a new potato up his arse on Newsnight. You just don't know. It's genius. He's like Freddie Starr or something, mad.
Equally exciting to juveniles was the unexpected discovery of 11 Russian spies living in deep cover in the USA.
The Spy Saga had something for every teenage boy, including old-school spying techniques and a foxy lady, gorgeous, pouting Anna Chapman, very much the wanking man's Tori Amos.
The coverage treated Chapman as though she was the most beautiful woman on earth, endlessly regurgitating a ready supply of vaguely saucy Facebook snaps on a daily basis. In one plaintive report, Sky News asked a guy who'd known her back in the day what kind of spark there was between them.
Anna is a unique woman. She has great interpersonal skills. She's a really good communicator.
Yeah, whatever. Could you draw a picture of her tits on this envelope?
Of course, I found her attractive. She did attract a lot of attention from men, but she was too immersed in her business to act on it.
But by October that had changed, and the story reached its logical conclusion as the redhead under the bed starred in steamy photo shoots and raunchy online videos for Russian Ladsky mags.